Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. I'm your host, Jill Hart, and with us today is Lindsey Preece. She empowers high-performing Christian women in healing their mind, body, and spirit from past adversities and trauma so that they can channel their experiences into creating a powerful impact and fulfill their purpose. Welcome to the show, Lindsey. It's really great to have you on here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and share my story.
So tell us your story. Let's start there. How did you get inspired to do what you're doing?
Okay, so this all started clear back when I was 12 years old. And I, unfortunately, I had a great childhood, was a super confident little girl, felt like I knew exactly what I wanted to do with life. I remember this very clearly. And then life happens. And I encountered a situation of sexual abuse, and it rocked my world. It took me from being that super confident, excited for life little girl to one who became extremely confused, full of guilt and fear and shame. And my 12-year-old mind didn't know exactly how to deal with what had happened. And thank goodness I had an incredible mom. Her first line of defense, which I'm grateful for, but have learned very, very different tactics since, was get her to the doctor and get her to therapy. And I absolutely did not want to go. Anyways, I won't make it to make a long story short. I ended up loving therapy. I ended up looking forward to it every week because I would go with this huge load on my shoulders and I was able to unload it and enough to be able to continue living. However, my mom did notice very quickly, even after a few weeks of therapy, that I could not stop crying. I was so angry and upset, and the tears just continued to come, that she knew we needed to do something. So that's where the doctor came in. I was put on prescription medications at a very young age, 12 years old, started on antidepressants. And over time, what I can tell you is it took the edge off. It numbed me. I feel like those medications numbed me enough to be able to continue living life. And I like to call it continue walking through life, because I don't feel like I was fully present. I don't feel like I really was living my life. It was just, it gave me a way to be able to kind of cover up what had happened, not worry about it so much, and move on and be able to live. And truly, as a teenage girl, I thought I was doing great. I thought life was good. I thought that I was doing quite well, and started to have some different symptoms that came up. And it had been enough time that, interestingly enough, I didn't correlate those things that I was experiencing to past trauma or unhealed trauma. And I started dealing with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of self-comparisоnism, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of self-hate, stomach issues. I had major stomach ulcers at a young age, and digestive issues and headaches, and on and on and on. And again, the line of defense that I had been taught was go to the doctor. So I continued getting on prescription after prescription after prescription to help me. And it wasn't until I was a young mom. I ended up with 3 daughters of my own. And it wasn't until I started to notice that they were reflecting a lot of my behaviors I hated about myself, and it scared me. I thought, okay, this has got to change. Again, I still was not linking it to the trauma, but I hated who I was. I didn't like the mom that I was. I felt very unfit. I was angry. I was irritable. I was triggered very easily, and was extremely miserable for a long time trying to figure out how to change myself. And the next thing that happened, that where the tipping point was I knew I wanted to do something more. I was a nurse and I loved being a nurse, but I always had wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to do something more, and had that desire. And an opportunity came into my lap, and I was excited about it, and I jumped in, and I was like, I can do this. This is going to be amazing. This is what I'm looking for. And I recognized very quickly that I was stuck. I kept hitting walls. I kept hitting those walls of self-doubt, of that self-hate, of I can't do this, of comparing myself to others. What am I thinking? I just kept hearing all that negativity and all of those negative voices that had been so normal for me for so many years. And it was actually an amazing friend who was in that business with me, who was a life coach. I didn't know that at the time, but she grabbed me by the shoulders one day and she said, Lindsey, I sense deep pain in you. Would you like to talk? And that blew my mind. I was like, what are you talking about? I thought I was hiding everything so well. And because she was who she was an angel in disguise for sure. I sat down and opened up to her and just spilled it all. It was a safe place for me, and took her clear back to the abuse at a young age. And she eventually looked at me and said, do you recognize that everything you dislike about yourself, everything that you're trying to change, everything that you're trying to overcome is linked to that unprocessed trauma from so long ago? And again, it blew my mind. I had never correlated it. And so what she did is she introduced me to healing the mind, body, and spirit, and why that is so important, and how each overlap, and how it's just like a piece to a puzzle, or like a pie. If one piece is missing, you don't get the complete healing. You continue to suffer, on and on. And it made sense to me. And because I was in the situation I was in, I just said, teach me, help me, show me what I need to do. And she did. And what I can tell you is, from all those years of talk therapy, which helped and gave me relief and helped me continue to live, but I never overcame anything. And within 2 or 3 days, I started to notice shifts and feelings and thoughts, hope all of a sudden arising within myself, and positive happiness and excitement for the future that I had never felt within 2 and 3 days. And I was like, oh my goodness, there is something to this. And I continued on that journey and ended up it just made all the difference for me. It so much so that I have written a book to share my story and exactly what I did to get through that. I have a coaching program, all of those things that I knew that I needed to share to help others who may be in the same situation or on the same journey.
That is a powerful story. And in some ways, I'm sorry that you had to experience what you went through, but in other ways, I'm not, because we all experience trauma, some with a big T, and it's not to minimize what you went through, because it's a horrible experience, and no woman should suffer with that. And now it's not even just women. Young men have been traumatized and sexually abused, and they're hiding from that as well. They have a whole different set of problems, but it forms who we are and our purpose for being. If we can get through it, if we can get healed. And
Right.
I love that you're using the pain that you went through to help others who have experienced other sorts of trauma in their lives. I mean, you don't have to have sexual abuse in your background to have Lindsey help you. there are tons of other ways we can be traumatized.
And one thing the conclusion I have come to is I absolutely would never, if given the chance to take it away, I wouldn't take it away because of everything I have learned and the person I have become in the process. Has it sucked? Yeah. Would I wish it upon my worst enemy? I wouldn't want to, but in part of me also is like, if it's going to do for them what it did for me, then yes, because it has been such a beautiful blessing in my life. But it can go two ways, and I've learned that.
I also know that you primarily help Christian women, and I love this because having been in the church myself, I recognize that a lot of times Christianity in particular, it's the only religion that I have experience with, but they can make you, they can kind of magnify the guilt that you're feeling because you're not that perfect person, and you're supposed to be like, you're supposed to be Christ-like. I mean, that's the goal, right? And for us overachievers, we're like, well, yeah, whatever you want me to do, man, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you know, and you're constantly judging yourself. It's not anybody else, it's you. You do it to yourself. You're up there going, oh, I can't possibly be good enough because I didn't do this, that, and the other thing. And for and people pleasing. I mean, it's just like head over heels into like whatever I can do for somebody else to make the pain go away from me. I'm gonna do it. And it Christian women tend to go like, that's the thing that we all get like sucked into. And to have somebody who's understands the journey, that's priceless to me.
Yeah. One thing that I definitely have noticed and have learned is that I was my very biggest critic for sure.
Mhm.
And what else I have learned is that I did that to myself. It wasn't Jesus. It wasn't the church. It wasn't things that I learned. It was how I interpreted it and how I let it show up in my life. Because really where the change happened for me and where I was able to let go of people pleasing and where I was able to heal and move forward was through Jesus Christ and through his love, like really understanding how he felt about me and that he didn't expect perfection from me and that he loved me just the way that I was, that he understood what I was going through and that he was there to help me. It was me who had made myself feel like I needed to be a certain way. That didn't come from him.
Yes, I totally see it. And I've experienced it. I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. It's easy to flip that around though and
I think
think
it's very
that,
common. I think it's very common.
yeah, that, and so to have you out there in the church telling women that you don't have to be perfect.
No, 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 no.
We're
And are you
not,
okay with me sharing a little bit of the journey about how that all came to be?
yeah, I'd love that.
Okay, so I again in this group of women where I had met this incredible angel,
Mhm,
uh, I recognized that there were so many different denominations and just Christians from all over the world that were
mhm.
so beautiful and wonderful, and our commonality was we loved Jesus, and I learned so much from them. And that is why my group is open to any Christian women. All I hope for is that you have a belief in God. And the reason why I even draw that boundary is because I talk about it so much and I want people to be comfortable. So it's not because I'm trying to exclude anyone. If they don't believe in God, I have members in my group who have said, well, I don't really know if I believe in God or whatever. Are you still okay with me being a part of your group? Absolutely. Everyone is welcome. I just say that because I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. But how this came about, truly, when the abuse first happened when I was 12 years old, um, previous to that, my family had grown up very religious, every Sunday going to church. My dad was in leadership positions. My mom was an amazing Christian woman and who believed in God, right? And I was definitely hanging on to their testimonies. It wasn't until I experienced this, that it really forced myself to figure it out for myself. And it was through that process that I started to feel, that was where I gained the most comfort and strength to keep moving forward. And so a couple of years ago, when I was asked to share my story on it's called a Happy Health Challenge. It was just for women looking for more happiness, not talking about trauma or anything.
Mhm.
And I was asked to share my story of transformation. And afterwards, the response was so incredible of, oh my gosh, like, tell me more. What did you do? What were the specific things that you did to help with your mind or your body or your spirit? And how did you get to the point of forgiveness and all of these things? That's when I knew I had to share my story and had that really strong feeling that, oh man, there are people that need this. But my first inclination, be it that natural man or natural woman that we have, I said, okay, God, I will share my story, but I'm not sharing you. I can't share you because I don't want to offend someone else. I don't want to impose my beliefs on someone else. I don't want people to be uncomfortable. And it's been this amazing journey to watch a transformation of going from feeling that way to then starting to write my book, starting to create a program. And I recognize that every single part of my story, my mind, my body, even if it didn't have to do with God, it had to do with God. God was a part of it. And not only a part of it, but then I recognized that he was the key aspect of why I had really had a heart and a mind that had changed, had a transformation. And so slowly but surely, I've added God in, and then I added Christian women in, and then I added, and anyway, yesterday, this maybe a few months later, but I just recently changed the name of my group to Healing with Christ, because it is the main point of my program. It's what sets it apart. Yes, there are all of the specific intricate details of focusing on your mind and how to do that and how to overcome that and how to heal your nervous system and how to clean out the weeds in your mind and the body and your physical health and your spirit. But what it all boils down to is that God is the difference. He is where I saw that transformation. And I knew that I had to not just share him, but have him be the key aspect of my program. And so that's kind of how that has evolved. And it finally, I can tell you, it finally just feels right. It feels like, yep, this is where I was supposed to finally get. God is good. He is kind. He is patient. He is gentle with us. He lets us walk through our natural tendencies and hopefully come to the right conclusion eventually. And it feels great. And as I've had different clients, every single one of them, when we have finished and I have said, what have you loved most about the program? It has been you showing me how to include God in each part of my healing and helping me to create that personal relationship, helping me to trust, helping me to learn. And it is definitely the part of my program that is different.
Would you say incorporating God into your life as opposed to letting God be on the outside of your life is maybe what helps make your program work for people?
100%. And I would say any program, because I think it's superficial. And I think that, it's a big red flag to me when you hear, even if you were to hear me say, I can heal you. That is not true. It's a big red flag when a therapist or anybody says they can heal you. There's only one person who can really heal you. I can help you and I can give you tactics and tools that worked for me. But if you really want true healing and you really want that long-term transformation to where whatever it was, whatever that trauma, that experience was in your life that has caused those negative after effects, if you want to get to a point where they don't bother you, so when I say healing, I don't mean you're never going to think about it again and it's never going to come up again. Of course, I can say I can't even remember the last time I thought about my abuse situation. but it doesn't rule your life. It's not something that you get up with. You feel the heaviness, the weight of it, like, oh my heck, how do I make today happy? How do I get through this? How do I not do this? How do I change who I am and let go of this or that? That's what I mean when I say healing. That real, true healing comes through inviting him in, not just allowing him to be on the surface and watching and knowing he's there, but really learning to invite him into your experience and letting him guide you personally on your situation and what will help you, where you are at. Because I can't get there. I can't see that, but he can, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense to me. I embody the experience. And I do understand, I think, what you're talking about in terms of inviting him in, but he becomes part of who you are. You are no longer you, but you're the person that he created you to be, and you can live your life that way. And it doesn't mean that the things that happened to you didn't happen to you, but they don't define you anymore. You have a new identity.
Right.
And I know Paul talks about it. You have a new identity in Christ.
It gives you an identity and a purpose that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
You see it very differently.
You can actually move forward in your life instead of staying stuck in the I wish things were different.
Right.
Because we all get stuck in that. I think trauma does that to us. It's
yes.
like quicksand. You're like, oh God,
why did this happen?
Why did this happen? And I can't, I can't get away from it. It's like you're covered in this ick.
Yep.
And some of us created the ick ourselves.
Right,
some of us had it cast on us.
Yeah.
But you can't get away from it. You have to let it get washed off of you. And I think that is,
and a big part of it as well is not being alone anymore. Inviting God in, all of a sudden I wasn't alone. I wasn't dealing with it by myself anymore. Mm-hmm. I had someone that I could hand it to when it was too much for me, to help me, to strengthen me, to help, to even guide me, and to talk. There were so many lies. I love to talk about lies because I think our world is so full of deception. There are so many opinions and so many comments outside of us. And we get caught up in it. It's so easy to get caught up in. And that was the biggest thing for me was, in my journey of overcoming, it was more of unbecoming who I had become in the process that trauma messed my brain up, right? And I allowed those lies and those thoughts to transform me into who I had become, which was a woman who looked at the world through a very dark lens, very pessimistic, very just miserable. And we know, all of us know people like that. And maybe someone's watching and that's themselves. And that is common, but it's really being able to find out who you really are, what really is true about you, what really is true about your situation or the trauma or the events that happened, and being able to embrace that and believe that, and then move forward in letting it go. It makes all the difference in being able to forgive, in being able to invite God in being able to let things go that have just been ruining you for maybe for years.
I think it allows you to have better relationships with other people too, because for me personally, because I've experienced this also, it was just, I wanted everybody else to either feel the pain that I was feeling, or I wanted them to rescue me because I was drowning. And I could see like all these things that were going on, and I would listen to people's opinions, and opinions are not facts. And then there was a turning point when I did just like, you surrender, but it's more than that. It's just a letting go. And there are tools, and I'm sure that you help people get through all of these layers, but you get to a point where it's just like, I'm okay. I am who I am.
Yep.
Don't
And
like me, that's fine.
yeah,
Get over
you're
it.
not just okay with it, but that you embrace it and you get to a
Yeah.
point where it's like, I really like who I am. I am a really good person who loves people and who
Mhm.
sees people. I mean, I see people so differently now. When someone does something that hurts me, the first thought that comes to my mind is, oh my gosh, what's going on inside of them? What are they dealing with?
Yeah.
Causing them to react like this. I know it's not me anymore. I know it's what's going on inside of them because I've been them. I know
Mhm.
what it feels like. And it does, it just changes your entire perception when you're able to block out that noise and just channel it between you and God and
Mhm.
only listen to what he tells you and take that on as your truth instead of all the noise out here.
For sure. For sure. So how do you actually work with people? Is it one-on-one? Is it in groups? You have a
Yeah, so I
program?
have both. I have both. My program, I will definitely say I see much greater transformations when it's one-on-one coaching because we're able to spend an hour after each session just talking about you and your situation and what you're struggling with and how the information that you just learned can help you with your situation, how we incorporate it into you. When it's a group setting, and some people love group settings because they like to learn from each other, but you don't get as much individual time. And so I do both. I have the group and the one-on-one coaching program.
And you also do workshops for people so
Yes.
they can kind of get a little bit of an experience of what you're all about and what you're doing and how you're helping people. So, you know, talk about that for a minute.
When I'll tell you, I experienced this firsthand, and this is why I do this too. When I first started in therapy or counseling as a little girl, man, I went through, I think, 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even more than that, therapists before I found someone that fit.
Mhm.
And I hated those times. I just think back to, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so miserable. But once I found the right fit, it became my saving grace. And so I love to do 3-day workshops that are completely free for people to come and to learn and get to know me, get to learn who they'll be learning from, what I'm about, my teaching style, all of those things, and then to give them a taste, give them some experience, teach them some tactics and tools that they can already start to apply in their lives to feel change or to kind of see what this program is about. And so, yes, every month I do a 3-day free workshop. And I'll send the link to you, and you can, if you would like to post that, and people can
Mhm.
hop on over to join the next free 3-day workshop. Or if you're someone that's just ready to go with coaching, I have that link as well. But yes, I like to do it for that reason.
And you have a Facebook community where
Yes.
people can interact with each other
Yes, I have
and
a
get to
private
know you.
Facebook community, which was called Christian Women Transforming Pain into Purpose, Mind, Body, Spirit with Him. Too long, too much. I changed it. I just changed it. It's the same thing, but it is Healing with Christ. And obviously that's for Christian women, but it is focusing on mind, body, and spirit. I have an entire group of women there who are looking for healing and transformation, and where I make posts and we communicate and discuss. Some people love to discuss back and forth, and others just like to sit and watch and read and learn from a distance. And either way is perfectly fine with me.
I think the bottom line is people feel uplifted when they're in the community with you guys.
Yep, it is definitely a safe place to feel uplifted and encouraged and not help you understand you're not alone.
Perfect. So, what is the one thing that you hope the audience takes away from this conversation today?
The one thing, there's a couple of things, but the first thing I would say is that I think it's very common for most women to not recognize the things they are dealing with are linked to trauma. I believe if not 100% of us have dealt with some type of trauma, 99.9, whatever you want to say. But it's recognizing where the depression has come from. Where's the anxiety coming from? Where is this self-doubt and self-hate coming from? Where are these angry outbursts that I'm having? Like where is this coming from? And I have had women of so many different types of, and I don't even like to say trauma anymore, because to a lot of people, they just disconnect and they're like, I didn't face trauma. Mine wasn't trauma, but it was adversity, or it was something hard or difficult that happened in your life. It could be bullying. It could be part of being a member of a family of 8 kids or 5 kids or 3 kids or 1 kid and feeling unseen, unheard, unloved, unsafe. That is what brings on the symptoms and the after effects of traumatic events or hard things that happen. And so I would say, don't discount yourself. I encourage you to come and be in my group, come to a 3-day workshop and see if it resonates with you. See if it's feeling like, you know what, I think it might have come from a relationship I had in the past, or whatever that may be. The second thing that I would want everyone to know is, if you have experienced something really difficult and really hard, and you feel like your life is hopeless and that you're never going to be able to get over it or let it go, that is a lie. It's a huge lie that the adversary wants you to believe so that he can keep you miserable. And there is absolutely, I believe, not one person in this world who has done something, been somewhere, experienced something that they cannot overcome through certain principles and tactics, and with God as their guide, and as their partner. And so please, I hope that gives you hope. If you are watching and you have felt hopeless, please don't feel that way anymore. And come and get to know my community, come and get to know me, and come and just get to feel and see how you feel in that community, and in that, let God guide you, is what I'm telling you.
And if you're feeling that way and you're listening to this podcast, get help. You don't have to go it alone. Reach out to someone. I think I'll put the suicide hotline in the comments too.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't go it alone. Thanks, Lindsey. Really appreciate you coming and sharing.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.